Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to review Savage Species, a 3rd edition D&D book. Now, this book was a little unusual in that it fell between 3rd edition 3.0 and 3.5. So there are things in this which are decidedly 3.0, but there are hints of what the 3.5 rules are going to be. So it doesn't perfectly fit either of the rule systems well. I've heard there's some issues with the editing. I've found at least one example of that. The level balance in this has been questioned, and I have to agree, because there are things in this that flat out I just don't quite grasp at all. But it's a book that I would have loved to have seen perfected, because what this book does is this gives the player and the GM options for actually playing monsters as player characters or NPCs, but specifically player characters. And a lot of monsters are powerful. So quite a few of the monsters in here are given examples of monster classes. So for example, say you wanted to play a Minotaur. So instead of starting out with the Minotaur, which is like a +6 effective class level, because it's so powerful, you can play a Minotaur from 1st level through 6th level, gaining the abilities of a Minotaur, starting off as a balanced 0 level advanced race, and as you go up levels, you get bonuses to your strength and your dex and your con, and you pick up tougher headbutting ability with your horns, and you pick up scent, and then it gets progressively better. So by the time you're done progressing through all 6 levels, you are the full-fledged Minotaur. And then you can then pick up a class, whatever you want. You know, Minotaur, probably be Fighter or Barbarian, might be the best choices. And I like this idea. Unfortunately, this book, which is, a pretty standard size here, that's not really huge. Oh, Amazon's got them on for use for $12. Does a few of these. There's like a couple of dozen in the book where it breaks down them in specifically, gives you the little levels. And some of these are only 3 or 4 levels, and some of these races, like the Fire Giant in here, is like 19 levels. So when you're done playing 19 levels of Giant, you have the ability to pick up 1 level of some class. I'm not sure if this was the best tactic ever conceived of. Now, they use this same model in some of the race books, like Races of Stone has a number of classes in there that are based on some of the races that are available, but are too tough to start out at 1st level unless you want to swallow that level advancement hit. So you can play the character over a few levels, 3 or 4 levels, until you get up to par with the rest of the party. I like the idea, but I don't think it was perfectly executed. So I'm going to do a quick overview of what is available in this book. Okay. First we have Building Monster Classes, rules for creating your own monster classes. And I've read this chapter a couple of times. I don't think I'm qualified to tackle that task. I think it's an overly complex process. The section on feats. And I like some of the feats in it. They have one, which is if you're huge and you have improved grab, either with a hand or a tentacle or a bite or whatever, you can throw a character who is medium or small. And by the way, a medium or small character has a range increment of 120. So you can just chuck someone into the distance, or throw them against a wall, or straight up and let them fall to their doom. A wonderful tactic. It gets people out of the way, moves them elsewhere. I think it's a really good controlling kind of a feat. I thought that was fun. Also, there's all kinds of things in here for spell-like abilities. So there are classes that have spell-like abilities, like a Warlock, for example. Some of these feats could be applicable because they affect spell-like abilities and not spells. A section on equipment. Some nice weapons in here. Some new armor, but some nice weapons. I thought the weapons were pretty cool. Bunch of spells, and again, I didn't read them. I read them once a long time ago when the book first came out. But reading spell descriptions is like looking at a chemistry textbook. Prestige classes. The prestige classes are very focused. Like Illithid Savant You can only play this class if you're a Mind Flayer, so not too applicable unless you're going to play a Mind Flayer. Scaled Horror, which makes a reptilian creature even more uh, difficult to kill. Siren, which is a class for monsters that have a mind-influencing sonic attack. It may only be a couple of them, like the Harpy, but, you know, there's one prestige class form. The Wave Rider, which is all about having a special mount under the ocean for aquatic races, which is kind of cool. Then we have a bunch of concepts of campaign settings, like how you would run a campaign. Advancing a monster. And again, overly complex in my book. There are software available online right now, free of charge. Go out there, find it, and it can do it for you. Templates. And the templates are kind of nice because these are things that you can lay on top of a monster to make them more interesting or more powerful, like a ghost brute. So you make a very tough ghost out of a standard creature. The gelatinous creature. So you can take your average animal, slap this template on them, and they become an ooze-based creature. That was really cool. The winged creature confuses me. Okay, you slap wings on a creature. That's a cool idea. I use this template as an inspiration to give wings to a player character in an old campaign. And it gives you a bonus to your dex, +4. I think it's a little high. I don't even leave it at +2 myself. But for some strange reason, it gives you a bonus to wisdom. How is having wings suddenly inspiring your mind on some level? I didn't understand that. Becoming a monster. And this is a chapter about how to transform your character from one race to another. And as I said in my Races of the Dragon review, I don't understand that from a mechanical point of view. If you don't want to play a character of your race, then don't pick that race. It makes sense within the context of the universe. I can understand if somebody doesn't want to be an ogre, they want to play another race, cool. They want to be another person. But if you're a player, just pick the race you want to play. Then a bunch of sample monster classes. And this is where I spotted the editing in here. They have one here for the flesh column, which is cool. But the flesh column is almost completely unplayable. It's got a 1 charisma. It never goes up. And its listing is having no skill points, but in a little chart that tells you what it gets for each level, it lists skill points. So does it get no skill points, or doesn't get skill points? But these are interesting for inspiration, and I quite enjoyed looking at them. Then we have a bunch of tables in the back, which list all kinds of monsters with some information, so you can create your own classes in that first chapter. So new creatures, a new race, the half-ogre. I really like the half-ogre. It's a tough +1 LA race. It's very strong, but it's got a bunch of negatives to it. And it makes me want to play a half-ogre that was raised by dwarves. I think that would be a cool character. And there's a section in here on anthropomorphic animals, and I love anthropomorphic animals. I think they're wicked cool. I like the art. I like a lot of the work that's been done as far as, in science fiction and fantasy games. But these are not well balanced. For example, the bat. Why does the bat have this huge bonus to its wisdom? Bats aren't that wise. All right, I've met bats. They're not very bright. Sorry, allergies. But if you like monsters and you want some options for them, this is a good book. Again, $12 on Amazon. It's really hard to go wrong. I recommend it for anyone who's a fan of 3rd edition and is into looking for things you can do with monsters that maybe you haven't thought of.